Welcome to Two Hearts Dance and Yoga's Heart to Heart video series. I am pleased to bring you Pamela Hetherington, tap dancer, owner of Soundspace Dance Studio, artistic director of Tap Company, and creating the Philadelphia Community Tap Dance Project. She is a true inspiration for tap dancers in Philadelphia. Pamela spreads her love for tap dance by creating a home for tap dancers at Soundspace. Her artistic work aims to expand tap, both as a soloist, a choreographer, and a composer. She has just a fabulous way of connecting with people and dancing to show all of the things that she does. It's my honor to have her here with us today.
That's so nice.
Thank you so much.
We do so much work by ourselves. I know you do also, and it's just nice to connect with people, even if it's on the computer. And I feel the same way about you. I was just telling you before the recording started that I admired your amazing ability to keep all these video posts and social media posts going, because it is a real second job. So hats off to you.
Well, thank you. And just thank you so much for always encouraging me and motivating me throughout. It's been really amazing getting to know you over the years. Before we get into everything, how has it been tapping virtually?
It's not ideal, especially with the little ones. So the majority of the kids in my studio, since I'm still a very new studio and growing from the bottom up, are little. So they don't have the awareness and technique a lot of times to even know what I'm saying, you know? So I played a lot of rhythm games with them. We did some tap history, which was fun. Showed them stuff out of my tap dancing books. And we were working on a recital. So we just had our first outdoor recital ever.
Yeah, congratulations. That was so awesome.
Our third recital was outdoors. But you know, it was such a nice format that we were saying, why don't we just do this all the time? It was very low stress for the children, and the parents just like being able to spread out, and family members, and they had to anyway because of the guidelines. So yeah, but yeah, tap dancing virtually to me is a challenge. Besides the kids, I was also trying to keep our adult classes online on Instagram. But, you know, in those cases, I feel like I can't really charge people for that because I don't know when they're joining. I don't know what their level is. You know, they could be joining from God knows where. So it was really sort of an experiment for me to just decide how to communicate the content I wanted. That's my dog. Of course he wants to bark. I think we've kind of made the technology work for us, but what we have available to us is just, you know, the lag time is horrible. You can't see each other very well, and the music doesn't quite catch up, or you might have like a reverb. So yeah, I would also say it's way harder to be online than in person. So all of us out there who have been doing it since March, congratulations to us. Right? Because it's not easy, you know, and it takes a lot of energy and time. And I'm proud of all of us in the dance teaching community for keeping it going, really, because we had to make it happen with literally no playbook.
Right, right. I mean, I would say the best thing that you said, you know, to kind of bring this all in perspective, it is an experiment. Like, none of us know what's going on. We're trying to wing it. We're trying to keep our students, you know, engaged. But ultimately with tap, it is very hard just because tap is so heavily reliant on the rhythm, the music, and all of those things that come together, that it's like if the lag time is behind, or you're not in the, you know, rhythm with the taps, then you're off. Or if you're not hearing all of the beats in the music, you're off. So it's a lot more levels to it than any other form of dance, I feel like. So you hit the nail on the head there.
Invested in getting the kids to work in their practice. Like, I don't know if it's pre-recorded class and then they send us a recording. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know.
Yeah, I understand. We'll work through it together, I guess.
Yes,
right? So kind of shifting gears a little bit, I guess, can you tell us how you discovered tap dancing and why it became such a love of yours?
Sure. I started out like most kids do in your neighborhood dance studio in Northeast Philadelphia. It was about 5 blocks from my house. So I remember walking there with my mom once a week. And that was how I got introduced to dance. And I really do remember, like, from age 3 or 4, like, tap dancing being a thing that I could do. Like, it just kind of came to me, and I enjoyed it, and I had fun with it. And when I was 6 years old, I did a school talent show, and whatever routine I did from my dance studio. And my mom saw 2 other little kids dancing, tap dancing, and they were really good. And she thought, well, if you're going to be tap dancing, then you should go there. So she discovered the name of the dance studio. It was called Joan Irwin School of Dance on Cottman Avenue in Mayfair. And I went there. And from there, I sort of like immediately dove into tap dance as a very precise technique, because she operated in a sort of a curriculum or syllabus format. So everything was graded and everything was leveled. So in order for me to get to the next level, I had to work really hard and learn these routines. And from there, I realized, like, I could do these steps and I could do them quickly and I could do them clean. And from there, it was sort of an obsession. But when I was a teenager, I met LaVon Robinson at the University of Arts. And I realized that all the steps I had learned up until that point were really not really what tap dance was about. So then my journey began again into improvisation and music and jazz. So it is quite a lifelong pursuit, and one that I feel all the time like I'm just beginning. So it's new every day, which is fun and also challenging for sure.
Definitely has that part about it where you're always going to learn no matter what.
Right. Yeah. And like, especially in tap, which is like an oral tradition, you have to really seek out the information if you're looking for a certain kind of way to express yourself. And only you can do that. There's like only so much you can learn on your own. So the searching and the questioning is a part of it too. And if you're into that, it's really fun. If you're looking for something that's not that, it can be very frustrating. And I still feel very frustrated sometimes when I come up with questions about how to do things and I have no answer, you know, and that might be another year or two of wandering. You know, we often say that like tap dance is a lifelong pursuit. And oftentimes when you looked at the tap masters of the 20th century, they were well into their 70s and 80s, really doing amazing things. And it could take you that long to really discover it and understand it.
Yes. Well, you're definitely like on the quest of doing things tap, which is amazing. And I admire.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, it's sort of amazing that I can do this every day. And it's really only because I love it so much. Like literally nobody should do this if you don't love it, because it is punishing and difficult. And I often feel like I'm fighting this fight, like people don't even know what it is. I know there's lots of that too, not just tap dance, but in other percussive forms or forms that aren't known very well, like flamenco or various forms of Indian classical dance or things of that nature. You're doing the same thing where you're simultaneously educating people and also working on your own practice. So yeah, it can really take over a lot of your time. Yeah. But it's just like anything, if you don't love it, then it doesn't feel like it's a chore or job or anything like that. So you know what that's like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is, tap dance has its own challenges with it. But I guess like for you, what were some of your earliest challenges with tap dance? Like maybe as a kid or just growing up in the studio and learning how to tap?
I think the first challenge that I came up against was really my height. And this is in dance in general. So I have had to kind of learn how to use my body in a different way. And I know it's everybody, but there's definitely a dancer body type that sort of works well with turns and leaps and jumps and stuff like that. And I didn't have that body, believe it or not. Like I'm not flexible. I had to really work at it. And just learning how to use my arms, which are longer than everybody else's, things like that. And what I learned over,
yeah. So I'm like, look at you, I'm like, man, she's got those long legs.
Right. But I never knew how to use them, honestly. Okay. And I often felt awkward and gawky and like I didn't fit in. And what I wish I could have told my teenage self then is it wasn't that I was bad at dance or like I couldn't do stuff. I just had to fit into my own body and understand it. And what I worry about with kids today is they see so much online that's like perfect, and the competition dance world has just exploded in such a strange way to me that I could have never handled when I was a kid, where it becomes about like this image of perfection. And honestly, dance is about many things, but a lot of it is just like, what do you bring to it? And if we're all trying to look like each other and fit this like supposedly trendy mold, I'm not sure I would have made it as a dance. I don't think I would have continued. But like what I discovered about myself is that tap dance was a way for me to really express myself. And even if I didn't look like everybody else, that was okay. Whereas like in other forms, you know, I have done other forms, obviously, but tap was the one where I was able to really just feel like I could do whatever I wanted to do. And I had that freedom. And I also sort of like realized over time, this is not answering your question, but related to that, I think the reason why I got into tap more than other forms really is because I have such an obsession with music. I never really saw myself as a musician. When I was a kid, my brother plays the piano, classical piano, and he plays the organ, and I always thought of him as the musician. But honestly, like, I was just as into music as he was. Didn't realize at the time, like, I was just expressing it in a different way. So in other dance forms, I didn't feel the same kinds of connection to the music as I did with tap. I love jazz too, but classical jazz, not so much more contemporary jazz, I guess. So yeah, I would say that was a challenge. And then as I got older, my challenges became trying to understand how to improvise, which is a lifelong journey and scares a lot of people. But that's also another one where you sort of have to face your fears and just accept that you have to like really work at this every day, and also discovering exactly what it is you want to say. So if you want to improvise, you cannot imitate anybody. You have to be yourself, which is the ultimate journey, right?
I love embrace, you know, your style and yourself, and you keep very true to that and all of the things that you create. So I definitely see that, you know, that's something that's near and dear to your heart. Your studio has been in business since 2015. I've seen so much personal growth from you, so much physical growth as far as like the space, the physical space of where you are now. You know, from me taking your classes there and then for me teaching there for a short amount of time. What have you enjoyed most about owning your studio?
That's a loaded question. Because I'm not gonna lie, every day is hard. Every day I wake up and I have literally no idea what to do. I just sort of like dive in and go. But the thing I have enjoyed is working with great people and seeing what they bring to it, and also teaching the kids, because I've been teaching dance since I was 18 years old. So it is nice to finally have kids that I see grow from 0 to 100. That's cool. And I have been able to surround myself with a community of adult dancers that are just the most wonderful people. Small but mighty group, but wonderful people that just check in on me, check in on things. They want to help. They're interested in dancing and they're interested in getting better. So that's been great. It's been hard. I think the hardest thing is just being closed and not having those ability to like see people and see them. I honestly, like, the hardest thing about being home is the function of the dance studio to me is that people want to be seen. They don't want to be at home dancing where no one can see them. There's an element of this like so communal and so tribal to it. And even with kids, they want to see their friends, yes, but they want to see you seeing them dance, right? So yeah, so that's sort of the two-part answer, is that the nicest thing about it is the people. The hardest thing about it is not seeing the people. And that also means that the way in which that I've had to run things since March has changed, which has been, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, I guess every dance studio owner in the world is feeling it right now.
Yeah, it's just kind of, making it work and
Yes.
appealing to your students as best as you can, honestly.
Yeah.
What you can do.
Day by day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you've created this staple of dance in Brewery Town, which has been an up and coming area of the city for years. How has this change in the community affected your business, and what initiatives have you had to connect others with your business?
I'll say two things about the community and how it's changed. So when I moved in there in 2015, I think you did see my first studio. It was hardly a studio. It was just like a space in a warehouse. And it was on a residential street. So I was really sort of like, didn't belong there. But the neighbors did embrace me being there. And one of the things I sort of learned from my family growing up in Philadelphia is you get to know the people on the street. And if you're out and about and talking to people, they're way more interested in helping you out than if you're not talking to them. And even like, as we've been closed, I've been going to the studio once a week or now more. I'll take the mail out. I like to weed. I like to take up the trash, and they see me out there and they know me. So now that things have opened up slightly, I've been seeing more people and been trying to engage as best I can, because community outreach is really a passion of mine, as you know. Thankless job, but I like doing it. So I'm always like, what can we do? So I've been doing classes outside, and that's been helping us stay visible out there. We had a few initiatives planned for this year that maybe go off. I don't know. But we usually have like 1 or 2 outdoor events where we have the floors out, people are dancing, there's music, and that brings people down to the corner. The other thing that I had planned for this year, which is going to happen, although on a smaller scale, is we are painting a community mural on the building. If anyone likes to donate, it's still open. We didn't raise nearly enough money as we thought, but this year has been so crazy. So that's going to go up shortly. So I'm hoping that will just bring the energy that we have for that corner, which I love so much, out invisible into the neighborhood, and give back, and as a way of public art for people to enjoy, because I really do love that neighborhood. It's funny, when in 2013, I quit my day job, which I haven't planned to for quite a while, but I did. And I just started looking at random places. And a friend of mine who's a realtor was just showing me places. And she's like, Pam, you know where you need to be is Brewery Town. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And she's like, no, that's the next big place to go. I'm not really into big places. I'm into cheap. I'm into places I can like rent for cheap. But I ended up there. It's funny to think back now that I ended up there, and it's great for what I do, because I'm interested in accessibility, reducing the access points for what we do. I don't want to have a dance program of any kind where people feel like they cannot join it, regardless of money or whatever. I really wanted to create programs that were not, didn't feel like me. Like, I'm not the kind of person that's going to have like a lot of different price points for things for the kids. And I know that's a revenue model for some studios. It's just not for me. But so I knew that like being there would be a place I could really like start what I wanted to do. And it's different than everyone else. And luckily the community has been great. My landlords are really cool. They believe in community art and access also. So it's just worked out so far. And as we were saying with the pandemic, it's just, things would be way different this year if it hadn't happened, but we've made it this far. It's July 13th. We just got to keep going.
That's awesome. And I love, you know, I think you described it as like your studio is at like the gates of,
yeah.
of Brewery Town. And that's so
cool. It's more of a marketing thing, but yeah, gateway to Brewery Town.
Yeah. And mural comes up because it will definitely kind of brighten up that area. And
yeah, I think so.
As, you know, a staple for exactly where you are. So it's really cool.
Yeah, we wanted it to be like all over the building. Of course, the funding is what it is. So, but we can always add to it. So we're going to start it, see how it looks. And then maybe if folks see it, they'll be more inclined to chip in and make it bigger. I mean, the building is just black. So let's do something with it, you know?
Really, really cool. Awesome. So, you know, tap dancing is such an art and really requires more than just dance. It's the musicality, it's the rhythm, it's a ton of coordination, to say the least. It's also not so mainstream, as you mentioned, as other dance forms are. Has it been challenging to encourage tap dance to others in Philadelphia in particular?
Yes. And this brings up a conversation that I thought a lot about, which is, what I do is not for everybody. There's many people, hundreds of people teaching tap in the world. I don't know how many, but there's a lot of people. And everybody brings something different too, which is great. I had to accept fairly early on that I couldn't be all things to all people. So if I wanted to start a studio, yes, perhaps it's the only place where this is all happening in one spot. But I couldn't teach things that weren't true to me. So the way that I teach is very musical. It's rooted in jazz. We do a little bit of like Broadway tap, which I don't really like that definition. We can talk about that more. But what I do is typically it's considered jazz tap. So I don't water it down. And so I had to accept that if people came to me and didn't exactly like it, it's sort of a reflection on how I've chosen to run things, but it's also sort of, you know, maybe it's not for them and they can go elsewhere, right? So what I hoped was, you know, even just starting what I did, it might encourage more. If I didn't start it, it wouldn't encourage anything. But now that I've done that and put myself out there as teaching this kind of way or whatever I want to teach, it can encourage more people to do what they want to do. And there's room for everybody. So that's sort of like a roundabout way to answer it. But
I love that.
I try to encourage, but I also don't sugarcoat the fact that it's hard. You know, whereas like it can be tempting to say it's not hard. But like every dance form is hard. And you have to put the work in. And I believe strongly that if tap dance will continue on, which it will, that we have to communicate a lot of the aspects of what it is. And so that's what I sort of do with my classes. And I encourage people, like if it wasn't for them or they're looking for something else, like there's many places else to go. The other thing that I try to do, and I've learned over time, is I have a workshop that I do twice a year for absolute beginners, and we do it live music, which is really fun. And I encourage everyone who's never tap danced before, maybe it's been a while, to take that, and then they can kind of see what they're in for if they continue with me or anyone else at the studio. If they never come back after that, cool. You know, they might come back in a year or two, or they might be encouraged to do something else, you know. But I do that instead of like absolute beginner drop-ins for the most part, because I find it really hard to keep people interested if it's kind of changing every week and it's brand new. It's like brand new and they have no foothold and it feels confusing. I mean, I could see being frustrated very easily. And I think that's why a lot of people suggest private lessons for absolute beginners or things like that, which I know you do, because it definitely, you need that like 2 to 3 month span of time to accept and be kind to yourself and understand that everyone goes through this period where it feels like crap. But if you continue with it, you will feel the joy. And it's just getting them past that point. So that's why I did that 8-week workshop, and it's a lot of fun. And in fact, some of those folks have continued on with me on Instagram Live while we were closed. And I can only hope that even if they don't return, that they find something in there that was interesting and maybe they come back. So, but yeah, it's something I think about a lot. Like, you don't want to lose people. And I don't know how you deal with it with what you're doing with the privates and stuff, but
I mean, I think you said it in the most beautiful way. It's like, you don't want to lose people and you want to keep people coming, but at the same time, you want to stay true to yourself. So you don't want to get into this place where you're trying to please people by giving what they want as opposed to what you're used to and keeping true to yourself. So I love that you really embrace that this is and this is what I do. And if for some reason you don't enjoy it or you don't like it, then you can always go elsewhere, but this is what I do and this is what I'm sticking to.
Yeah, you know what, 10 years ago I probably wouldn't have been like that. So I'm turning 41. And I don't think I had the confidence then to take that kind of a stance, which is interesting, but that's just always been, I've always been kind of late to the game, but I had to really kind of take that on and understand that it wasn't personal if people didn't come back. But I could do whatever it takes to welcome them in and give them an entry point. But the interesting thing about teaching is you meet a lot of people for whom they have to find the entry point. Like, I can't take away certain aspects, like there's technique that we have to learn. There's timing. I can't take that away, sorry. I can't take away, like things like that. So it's sort of like you give them the way in and show them what the work is. But then there is also the work they have to do, which is facing the fear of sucking, which we all do. Taking on a weekly practice where you are practicing, right? So I've had to think about that quite a bit, because I think, me too, I also take a very personal investment in everyone I see. And that can be draining and exhausting. But yes, I do a lot of deep thinking about the teacher-student relationship and what that means. Because if you really get personally invested and take it personally when they don't return, not always a reflection on you. It's just that you might be meeting them at a time in their life when they're not ready and they need to be somewhere else learning. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I think I've learned that from you, I don't know, a while. I sat down and talked about stuff like this, and that has like helped my teaching career so much, because it's like, you can't beat yourself up about if somebody doesn't come back. Like, the thing that you have to control the controllables, right?
Yes.
So what you can control is you're providing an opportunity for someone to learn, and you're putting all of your effort, you're putting your passion into it, and you're creating the relationship. If they decide they want to take their business elsewhere or just not practice, I mean, we all had those students who, it's like, you teach them something and you can tell they're not practicing. And you're like, well, you're making it harder for yourself. So it's like, things you like can't beat yourself up about as a teacher. And that's what I appreciate from you sharing this, and thanks for sharing it with everyone here.
Sure. Same with kids too. I mean, and that can be heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. Some kids that have so much potential, and if they only just focus more, but you can't and it's even harder to force kids, because they either love it, the kids like love it.
And it's all like so much more relevant when talking about tap more than anything else. I feel like, little girls tend to love ballet because you're in a tutu, or, they love gymnastics or whatever it is because you're flipping upside down. But like, tap is like, you really have to enjoy it and you really have to put in the work for it. Mm-hmm. And not something that's like lots of like glitz and glam and you're not wearing a tutu and all this stuff. It's work. It's hard work. Yeah. Totally understand that. So thank you for sharing that. We've had conversations about the efforts in keeping tap dance alive as an art art form. Have you found it challenging, or have you found that it's changed over the years in Philadelphia? Have you seen that, more people are coming for tap, or, any changes since you've been in business?
Yes and no,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. And there was just a post on Instagram about this, which is interesting to me because, and we've been talking about this for years here, but there's no tap dance major in Philadelphia dance programs.
Yeah.
So when you turn 18, basically you go to a dance program, you're not going to tap. So how are we training kids to get interested in doing this? That's one problem, huge problem. I don't know how to solve it. Like, I open the studio and I reach out to various colleges and stuff, but they're busy, so I get it. It's more like you got to get buy-in from the dance departments, and they don't care at the moment. So there's that. I feel like, this is in every major city where when you have a niche dance form like this, it doesn't really have a overriding structure or a dance department or something like that. Like, it's just people doing their own thing. And that used to be hard for me also. I always felt like, why can't we come together once a year even, for National Tap Dance Day? But it's fine. The more important thing is that we're doing something. And whoever shows up, shows up. And maybe nobody shows up, and that's okay. Because at the end of the day, the effort isn't wasted. And maybe somebody hears about it 2 years from now, and they're like, oh, that was cool. I struggle with that quite a bit, honestly. There's a post on my Instagram, the dance studio Instagram, that's kind of raw actually about it. Because if there's one thing I take personally, it's that there's just division where there doesn't need to be, honestly. And I'm sure it happens in literally every dance form and every business and every whatever. But it just feels more personal to me, I think, because I've grown up here. I've seen it as a child. I was dancing in performances when I was 15, 16, and saw so much, and I just feel that's where my personal investment comes. And I've also come to the point where I realize I'm not going to be the person to solve it, because I can't do that work. It has to come from everybody else. So does that answer your question in a very vague way?
It does. It's a collective work.
Yeah.
It's not just one person's job. It's not just two people's job. It's the entire community to be able to, kind of overcome it and to, put the topic at hand in its place.
Right.
I totally understand what you're saying. And I can tell, you're very passionate about what you do, and you're very passionate about the city and just creating opportunities for people. So
right.
Really
I do, at the end of the day, that's all it is really.
Yeah.
Is I think my purpose on this earth is just making space, honestly. Yeah. That's like one of my purposes. There's a few, but I'm the kind of person that can do that. So that's my purpose. I make the space. I make the shows for people to come and dance at if they want to once a year when we're outside. I bring in teachers when I can. And I enjoy all of that. Mm-hmm. And success is how you measure it. Success is not always in people. Success is doing it, right? And then you learn how to do it, and you learn things from that. So it took me many years to get there, though. It really did. Sometimes, I feel like I wish I wasn't so old, but getting older is cool sometimes, because you see the things that used to bother you and really stress you out and trigger you. You get to a point where you're like, it doesn't matter really, because there's more important things in terms of what comes out of what you put into the world. And my personality type is a giving personality type, and I embrace that. And I'm happy when I give, so I'm going to keep giving.
Exactly. And we're fortunate that you continue to give us the tap dance and all the things that you're doing. My last question for you.
Sure.
What's in the future for Soundspace and your dance company? We didn't even get a chance to really talk about Take It Away. So if you want to touch on that a little bit, but what's in the future for, all the things you're doing?
Yeah. One of the things I did last year was I made a commitment to focus really heavy on my choreography, which is what I super enjoy. Super, super, super enjoy. I just have always kind of pushed it to the back burner and done it when I can. But we've still done it quite a bit, but not as I want to do all the time. So I finally got operational funding from the Cultural Fund, which has now been defunded. So that's sort of funny. It's like a super hard application, and I won, and then now it's defunded. But I want to do more of that. And if the studio folds for God knows why, because we can't get the kids back in the studio, I will make a commitment to do more choreography and shows. And we will be in the Fringe Festival this year. And one of the good things, I guess, about all the venues being closed is I can actually do more. So I can use the studio, and we are mandated to be online for the Fringe this year. So I'm doing 4 shows during all 4 weeks of the Fringe on Sundays at 4. You can tune in with your favorite beverage, and we're going to do 4 different shows. And I'm really excited about that. I could never have done that before in a traditional venue because I could never have afforded that kind of time. So that's cool. And, you know, who knows where that will go. I always had this dream of having my own jazz date where, like, I show up at a jazz club once a month or something and do what I want to do. So maybe it's in the studio. I don't know. That's sort of what I'm thinking about for the future. And I've been doing some more solo projects, which I'm really happy with. I did one in June with a friend of mine that we've been working on for 5 years. So I wouldn't have had time to do that if we hadn't been shut down, honestly. So all good things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool to see all the things you're doing. And I guess if you can tell people where they can tune into you, what your Instagram account is so that people can follow you.
Sure. There's so many. Sadly, in this world we live in, it's like all about the computer. Soundspace Dance is the Instagram for Soundspace, which is my dance studio. And my dance company is called Take It Away Dance, and you can find that on Instagram also under @TakeItAwayDance. And you can always follow me. I'm at Pamela Hetherington. For the show, if you're interested in that Fringe Festival thing, that information is going to come out very soon because we just uploaded all the information to the Fringe. But I'm going to be creating a Facebook group where you can join once you purchase your ticket, and we're going to go live from Facebook. And you can also comment and request tunes every week. So I'm excited about that. I think that'll be fun. And
Really?
see on there. So Facebook and Instagram is pretty much where I live. So you can just find me.
Awesome. Very cool. We look forward to seeing all these exciting things coming from you. And on behalf of Two Hearts Dance and Yoga, thank you so much for taking the time.
You're so welcome. This is a lot of fun, and thank you for inviting me.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Pam. Awesome.